Creating an organized workflow is often difficult for actors, I think. The reason has something to do with being an artist and believing that business structure is impeding your creative self. I have a different point of view. It is only when you address your lack of being a well-organized actor will you be able to turn your artistry and imagination into your best work. The Organized Actor on this episode of Casting Actors Cast.
This is Casting Actors Cast, the podcast video for actors in the business of show. Casting director Jeffrey Dreisbach brings you insights and inspiration to help make a difference in your acting and your acting career. Here's your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting partner Jeffrey Dreisbach with the McCorkle Group in New York. How are you? I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a really good day and really looking forward to providing some tips and some ideas about how to get more organized, especially this time of year. Here we are in the spring. This is the time to clean out the closets. This is the time to make sure you are ready for the next best thing. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. It's been so much fun bringing these podcasts, these podcast videos to you. Listen, if you haven't done so already, please go to the website, castingactorscast.com. There you're going to find all kinds of information, not only about the podcast, but there's also a little form there that says dive into the talent pool. You give me your name and your email address, and you can ask a question or leave me a review or a note or say hi, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But when you do that, it opens up some freebies. One is a book that I wrote called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. It's a 100-page PDF all about doing voiceover work. Now, also there at the same place is a free private video that's up on YouTube, but it is a privately listed video called Casting Secrets, what they don't tell you. But I'm going to tell you in this free video. It's about 20 minutes, but it's all about things that I have never talked about before, so you might want to check that video out as well. And finally, my good friends at Actors Connection, Colleen and Tony, continue to do really excellent programming, and they are also doing some classes now in person at Pearl Studios here in New York City. But don't despair if you can't get to Actors Connection in New York. They're still doing all kinds of online programming with classes, workshops, and seminars. Go to actorsconnection.com/New York. Now, quickly, a couple of other announcements that I'm just excited to make. One is on May 22nd at 7 p.m., you want to think about going to Chelsea Music Center in New York City. Just look up Chelsea Music Center. There I will be a guest judge for Battle Axe. BattleAxeLive.com is the place to go. And this is an amazing place where actors can sign up and literally for free join the Battle Axe competition. There's prizes. There's just all kinds of fun. It's in a really amazing venue. And so why not brush up your monologue and get yourself out to Chelsea Music Center on May 22nd. Come and say hello to me. It's Battle Axe, the Galinsky brothers, great friends, and I've been a guest judge on their programming for quite some time now, and I'm having just the best time. I really wanted to give a shout out to this excellent organization. Win money, win prizes, have a great time. It's at the Chelsea Music Center on May 22nd at 7 p.m. But you need to go check out and get tickets if you want to just see it, or if you want to participate. That's the place to go, battleaxelive.com. Now, my last announcement, and forgive me for all these announcements here before we get into our subject, but on May 25th, taking place at Pearl Studios, I'm excited, really excited to share with you, but I'll be doing a live recording of Casting Actors Cast. This very podcast is going to be done live in front of an audience. That hopefully will be you. And so you're going to get some information, if you're interested, by going to actorsconnection.com. Let me tell you a little about it. It's 1 hour, 6:30 to 7:30. It's at Pearl Studios, 500 8th Avenue on May 25. May 25th is a Thursday. From 6:30 to 7:30, you can watch me do the podcast live. I'm also hosting some question and answers, and your participation can really make this, I think, an interesting event. I hope a few of you choose to come on out and show up and support the podcast. If you're a fan, if you can make it, it would be so amazing to have you. This is the very first time I'm doing something like this, so you can imagine I'm a little nervous. I'm a little damp under the pits, but if you don't try something new, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's on May 25th at Pearl Studios. You can get more information, by the way, by going to actorsconnection.com/New York. Woo! That's it for the announcements. I'm of course, I'm hyped up on caffeine, but I'm also genuinely excited about these events that are coming up in the next few weeks. By the time you hear this, by the way, you should be probably checking it out right away, those 2 items that I mentioned. All right, we're ready to jump into the subject for today, and that is what I'm calling the organized actor. And I think the best way to approach this is for you to simply answer the following questions to find out if you need to get better organized. And so by answering these questions, this might be a really good way of finding out, is this something that I should really take a look at? So these questions may not make perfect sense, but you'll see where I'm going as we go through this. Number 1. Are you following a plan for your acting career? Do you have a plan in place? In other words, do you have an idea about what the next right best thing for you is? Are you just simply deciding that you're going to go online and see if there's any auditions and then maybe thinking about going to those auditions or whatever? What is your plan for your career? Think about that for just a second, and then let's move on to number 2. Do you have a regular routine for taking care of your acting? Not your acting career, but are you taking care of yourself as an actor? Obviously, I'm talking about classes. I'm talking about going to workshops. I mean, obviously, if you're listening to the podcast on a regular basis, yes, that's part of what your plan is. That's part of what your routine is. So that would be a yes. So that's a good thing. But are there additional things that you do on a regular basis that are strictly there for your acting? Answer that question, and then we'll move on to the next question. Are you feeling that you're not doing enough for your talent? In other words, is there a little FOMO going on, that fear of missing out, which can be kind of devastating sometimes if you really think about it, that there's always something that you could be doing and always something that you're missing. On the other hand, taking a good, honest look at yourself, do you feel like there are some things that you could be doing but are not doing for your talent? You see, your talent is a unique, special thing, and I believe it's critically important for you to do whatever you can to take care of that talent. Okay, moving on to question number 4. Do you exercise? Do you exercise? Simple question. Do you exercise on a regular basis? And so when I'm talking about exercise, I'm not talking about getting out and lifting weights necessarily. I am just talking about, is there a plan in place for you to get some physical exercise? Now, I'm not your doctor. I'm a casting director, and I can tell you that there's just a better quality of life for those actors that implement a regularly scheduled exercise routine. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Here's another one. How often do you write important information on scrap paper? In other words, a phone call comes in with maybe an audition, or somebody shares a piece of information that is important to you, and so you just grab a piece of paper and then write it down. The next question then becomes, what happens to that scrap paper? Are you like my grandfather, who used to have this great big monster thick wallet, and it was full of phone numbers and scrap paper and addresses and all kinds of information. Made this wallet about 6 inches thick. He couldn't even get it into his damn back pocket. It was so bad. Are you that guy? Don't be that guy. So if you're using scrap paper, that's an indication that perhaps there is a better way for you to think about your organization. Here's number 6. Are you online with people, places, and things more than business? Really? Are you online? How long? How long are you spending on that social media? How long are you spending on researching the latest cool shoes that you are interested in maybe buying? Given the honest answer to these questions, you now have some choices. And so if you've answered those questions, let's go back through each of those questions and talk about solutions to some of these questions that I've asked. Number 1, I think it's really critically important for you to use a calendar, a daily planner, a digital organizer, something for your plan. In other words, it's one thing to have a plan. It's another thing to put it down on paper. Now, there are all kinds of different ways that you can do this. I know that there are even books that you can buy that are like actors' plans, actors' planner. You can also, it's so cool that you can go online and you can print out actually a day-by-day planner with the calendar and the place for you to put appointments and important information. Whatever your plan is. I also, for a long time, I also had I don't know if this is such old school, I know, so don't laugh at me, but a 3-ring binder that I printed out on my very first computer printer was an HP 500 DeskJet, and I was able to print out every day of the damn week, put it in my 3-ring binder, and I used that as my own daily planner. You know what? And it worked really well for several years, I have to say. So something like that. You can do it all digitally, of course, now. If you are on Google, you have the Google Calendar, you've got notes, you've got all kinds of things that you can do. Are you using it? Sometimes I know that the learning curve for using it is kind of a pain. It can kind of be like, it's going to take me a while to get used to this, and that's not helpful for being efficient in my planning. I get it. I understand that. But you know what? It's I think it's well served for you to take the time and learn a new system so that you can eventually start growing and developing your plan. And it is in one place, and it is a comprehensive way that you can take a look at your career trajectory. Trajectory, that's a good word, right? I bet that's the first time you might have heard that today. Number 2, carve out time on a regular basis to decide and to dedicate strictly to your acting. It's important that you have a regular schedule. Now, I've talked about this in many podcasts before, and I'm not about to take up your time today and go into all of them. But what are you doing in order to address staying fresh, staying ready with your acting? Now, there are some free opportunities that are out there. I talked about battle acts earlier. That's completely free. And you can be up in front of people, and you can be working on your monologue. It's strictly a monologue competition, but I don't want to stress the competition part, but it's really a great way for you to kind of get yourself out there, get yourself seen. You're listening to the podcast on a regular basis. That's great. Maybe you're getting some actors together and you're reading scripts on a regular basis. Maybe there's a little play reading group that you're a part of. Anything that you can do, so classes, workshops, whatever events that can be helpful to you as an actor, that should be part of your plan. Now, number 3, and I know I'm only saying this because of my previous experience as an actor, it was really hard to turn down those negative voices in your head. Those voices that are saying you're not doing enough. Those FOMOs, fear of missing out. Those kinds of strategies that are on the other side of being positive can be really, really painful, can be really hurtful, and can really keep you down. Now, I'm here to tell you that, and I'm not just trying to be Pollyanna with my positivity. I love alliteration. Pollyanna with my positivity, but I am trying to say that it is valuable for you to literally try to turn those voices in your head down. And one way you can do that is simply to list your accomplishments. List your accomplishments for the day. List what you did positively for yourself for the week, for the month, for the year. Take into consideration all of those things that you are doing for yourself to help minimize that negativity that we all carry. You know, it's amazing to me that we're so much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on anybody else in our world. Why? Why are we doing that? So go ahead and try your best to minimize those negative voices in your head by doing self-fulfilling tasks that can help you and your acting career. And number 4, when we talked about we talked about exercise. I'm talking about like walking, biking, yoga, any other self-improvement physical activity is absolutely the best thing that you can do. I can't stress that enough. I know you might think it's silly, and I'm a kind of an older guy talking about this stuff, but walking on a regular basis has literally saved my life. And I know it sounds very dramatic. Well, I'm dramatic anyway, but you know what I'm saying? It's like just the physical act of getting out there and putting one foot in front of the other over a 45-minute period of time and doing it on a regular basis. Man, oh man, it's like the best drug you could ever have. It clears your head. It makes you feel good about yourself. And guess what? You start looking a little better. You start feeling a little better. I mean, it is just so many valuable assets that come into your world when you do regular physical exercise. Okay, I'm sounding like an old parent now. I'm like your old physician, your country doc. I don't want to be that guy. But I do know firsthand how valuable it can be. Now, listen, here's another tip, is to use a single source and location for your acting business. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean your business organization and your business scheduling. Do you have an area in your home that perhaps is carved out? Do you have, like I mentioned, that notebook? Do you have a regular place that you can go to really overview all of your planning, all of your thoughts, all of your tips, all of your whatever it is that's related to your career? Do you have a single area in your home dedicated to that space? If not, I think it's important to take a look at that. I think it's important to just have a shelf with stuff on it. The stuff could be your lists, your notes. It could be your headshots. How organized are you? Is it easy for you to get information? Do you have a database? For example, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, why not use that Excel spreadsheet for every time you have an audition, every time you meet somebody in the business? Those are all really, really useful tools that will help you not only now in terms of staying organized and keeping your head straight, but it's also really cool for the future, because you'll notice over time, as the world gets more confusing, that your career gets sharper. It gets better focused. Because why? You start seeing these same people that you've met over and over and over again. And that is such an amazing feeling, that you'll start seeing the same names. You'll start meeting the same people in different situations. And that is the business side of things getting smaller and smaller. And the more that you are attempting to get organized, the more in focus your relationships with some of these professionals will be. I'm not just making this up. I know this to be true. So think about it. Moving on, when we talked about the amount of time you might be spending on social media, I need you to give yourself the 50-50 rule. Try this on. Just see if it helps you. For every hour you spend on social media or browsing or shopping or whatever you're doing online, you must give equal amounts of time to your business research and information gathering as an actor. Okay, how did that go over? What did you just tell yourself when you just heard me say that? It could be something like, he's so full of shit. Or it could be something like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Whatever it is, think about it. Spend some time with the idea of that and see if that is something that you can structure in your day-to-day. Because what happens when you do that, you start turning the corner. You start having a career agenda and a focus unlike any other time. Now, having said all of that, be careful not to beat yourself up over your perceived lack of business organization. It's not helpful to do that. Use the frustration that you might have over this instead to energize a new plan of action for your acting career. So it's simply a matter of making sure you have a business model of organization so you can grow and become the positive CEO and brand yourself for your talent. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. This is Casting Actors Cast.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. Please don't forget to review, like, and share Casting Actors Cast wherever you get your podios, podcast videos. Thanks. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.